The following telephone recordings are from July 1980. Some of the narration is from that time as well. Additional narration was supplied in 2015. This continues the exploration of the ConTelNet, a common control switching arrangement network for a private company that no longer exists. In the last program, I determined that the switch that serves the Northeast is somewhere in Connecticut because its long-distance calls are going out through the Bridgeport 4A, recording ID 20315. But I thought I heard the sound of a crossbar tandem right before that recording came on, and I wanted to find out what crossbar tandem is that, because that would further narrow it down, and I'm just curious. So, what I'm going to do is to try dialing vacant codes in a number of different area codes through the Connecticut switch. Usually when long distance is going out through a crossbar tandem to a 4A, you can get the crossbar tandem to give you a recording by dialing a vacant code in something nearby. So we know our egress point to the Bell System network is somewhere in Connecticut, not too far from Bridgeport. But if we can get the recording from that crossbar tandem that I heard, that will narrow it down even further. In an attempt to get a vacant code recording from the crossbar tandem, to hear its numerical ID, I'm going to try vacant codes in the following area codes: 617, which is Eastern Massachusetts, 203, which is Connecticut, 716, which is Buffalo, New York, and 516, which is Long Island. In the process of trying these things, I'm going to encounter call failures that are not a result of my misdialing. They are actually chronic trunk problems in the ConTelNet, which months later I found were still there. This was the first indication that the ConTelNet level of service was not very high. And then I tried using it in the daytime, but we'll see about that later on. At the moment, I'm still recording at night.
Okay, sounded like there was a crossbar tandem in there. Heard a crossbar tandem sender drop out just before that 20315 recording came on, so I'm going to try to get a recording from that crossbar tandem, and I'll be giving it a 617 vacant code. So I'm dialing 727-8617.
This is the reorder from the Connecticut switch, which I'm accessing through a Centrex, probably in Baltimore, whose code is 727. I dial 727 plus 8 for the CCSA, plus the first 3 digits of what I want to dial. Then when the call goes through, I'm dialing the rest of the 10-digit number.
Well, it looks like that's what happens with 617 vacant codes. Let me try a 203 vacant code.
That was the dial pulse converter timing out. It can't hear my touch tones this time. Last time we got another deaf trunk. No transmission in the forward direction. And this time sounds like we're not hearing whatever's going on.
I'm certainly not having very good luck getting the calls to go through. A lot of these times it's gone through, but the trunk has been such that it can't hear my touchstones.
The number dialed is invalid. Please check the number and redial your call.
I should have known. Let me try a 716 vacant code.
Dial again and call your operator to help you. This is a recording. 7164. Please. We're sorry your call cannot be completed as dialed. Please check the number and dial again and call your operator to help you. This is a recording. 7164. Please. We're sorry.
All right, how about a 516 vacant code?
The trunks to the Connecticut switch don't use tones. They have a data link. But what that makes possible is a call going through where it cannot hear. No forward transmission.
We're sorry, but we have a problem in completing your call as dialed. Please check the number and dial again or ask your operator to help you. This is a recording. 20314. We're sorry, but we have a problem in completing your call as dialed. Please check the number and dial again or ask your operator to help you. This is a recording. 20314. We're sorry, but...
Okay, there's a recording from across Bartandam.
That's Norwalk. So now we've narrowed it down. The ConTelNet Connecticut switch is somewhere in the Norwalk sector of Connecticut. When it goes out on the Bell system, it uses lines from the local CO, and that local switch uses Norwalk 20314, which homes on the Bridgeport 4A 20315.
Now, before I go on, let me just make sure I record one little thing. 551 is a dimension in New York, goes through Connecticut. I'll be dialing 551-9111. Hi, is Ben home?
Yes, this is Liz.
This is Evan.
Okay, just a minute. I know what you mean about Evan. Hello?
Hello.
Hurry up, though.
There's an office that I have access to the 9 line. There's a PBX that I have access to the 9 line of in New York through the CCSA.
Yeah.
Okay. And in that particular Crossbar 5 office, 660 is handled by an ESS line. Do you still have your own ringback in your office?
No, we're on some ESS.
Isn't that incredible?
Yeah, I don't know which ESS.
Who knows?
Something from Brooklyn, no doubt.
It really kills me that they would take an office as far out as yours, nowhere near an ESS, and do that.
Well, they don't do that all the time, but I've seen offices close that they haven't done it to.
There's still some real 660s around, huh?
Well, I think the real Japanese ones, anyway.
Oh, that's right. Well, the Japanese ones are new, too, you know, so it's either
You know?
What?
Don't you hate temporary ringbacks?
What do you mean by temporary?
Well, I'm sure that I think there's some Japanese ones that disappeared.
You
know, remember they changed mine anyway? You know, they got rid of the intermittent ring, the bridge ring, or whatever it is.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
They got rid of it all of a sudden. They changed it. So why did they bother changing it? What did they change it to? And why did they now change it again? Like they have nothing better to do than to play with things that they never use.
Or to not fix things that they could be using.
Yeah.
Do you have tapes of it the original way it was with the bi-string and everything?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Good. That's neat.
No question.
Ringbacks, I always loved ringbacks. It was one of course, 660 was the first thing that I ever really played with.
What you had out there in Lindbrook was crazy.
That thing in Lindbrook?
Absurd. Are there tapes of it?
Oh, yeah. I've got the whole thing explained. Of course, I don't know that I have tapes of the new one. I've got tapes of the old one. You know that ring that turned up and replaced the independent-sounding ring that replaced the...
427?
Yeah, that one. Eastern Upper Manhattan.
A few offices in the 56th Street and Broad Street have the, imitation ESS ring.
Well, at least that's not too bad. It's just, to me, it's sacrilege when the Bell system starts using a ring. It sounds straight out of, I don't know, Long Beach, California.
I know, that is grotesque.
I mean, it's just like everything is crashing in. There's no more structure anymore, you know?
You see, you can't care, you can't care. The hell with it,
Yeah, I guess what you have to do is accept that the regular old Bell system network is no longer a whole. It's no longer has any structure.
It's like what they did with the recordings. They kept changing what they wanted the text to be, and they went back to the original, and they changed the standard voice, and nobody knows what the intention of the other guy is. I mean... And
now they've ended up with a tape of the Autocron guy saying the old text, not the correct text. They might as well be using Owen Murphy.
Yeah, so they, all the tradition and the time-tested and the conservatism and all that's changed. The whole world's changed that way, really.
Yeah.
Well, computers and all that boredom, So, that's the way everything is.
Yeah.
So you just have to accept that, there are no traditions anymore and so on.
It's really difficult now when I find interesting things, on the phone. They're so scattered. They're just a little thing here and a little thing there, and they seem so meaningless,
Yeah.
And it's very hard to know how to record them, because if you record them, they're just boring little things. And the only way to record these things is it's got to be a complete thing, For instance, if I wanted to record a bunch of random calls to the country of France, that would be a complete thing. If I found something interesting about SPC, I would have to record enough so that you got a feeling for the SPC network as a whole thing,
Well, yeah, but that's also partially because it's new.
Yeah, well, it's okay that it's new. It's just that you can't just record little bits and pieces, because, if I record something interesting SPC is doing, well, if you didn't have the groundwork, the basic, what was the whole picture that this was different or made this interesting? Then you're going to have the exceptions, the interesting things that happen, and you won't have the way it was normally,
Yeah,
So it's pretty difficult to figure out what to do. I'm going to record everything I can about this dial-in implementation thing going on.
All right. Anyway, I accidentally keep the phone open for a while. If you're around, like after 11:30 or so, give me a call.
All right, sure will.
Okay.
Okay.
Good night.
Night.
For the next call, I'm going to get the 9 line of the 551 PBX, that's in New York, and dial 958. That's supposed to tell you your number, but this 9 line just doesn't have it wired, so 958 gives a high tone.
Current Midtown temperature 76.
Good morning. This is New York City's latest forecast. At 7:05 is the barometric pressure 30.03 and rising. Relative humidity 69%. Wind southwest at 12 miles per hour. Partly sunny today. Humid. High around 90. Lower at the ocean. Cloudy with possible showers or thunderstorms tonight. Low 70 to 75. Mostly cloudy Monday. Showers or thunder showers in the afternoon or evening. High in the mid-80s. Precipitation probability 20% today, 30% tonight, 40% Monday. Wind southerly 10 to 15 miles per hour today, tonight, and Monday. Tuesday's outlook mostly cloudy, warm, humid, chance of showers. Dial the Good Looks line at 999-2222 for some fresh health and beauty hints each day. Thank you for calling.
A local call just hung up on our 9 line. So we stay on the line for 20 seconds, then the crossbar 5 line returns to the idle state. Normally it would get another dial tone, but that's when the PBX detects it, hangs up on the CCSA trunk, and that goes all the way back to us, and now we've been hung up on. Calling from an ESS line, I'm going to get 10 seconds before I get my dial tone.
All the recordings up to this point have been made at night. Right now I'm recording during weekday business hours. And I'll tell you again when we get to a section of tape recorded at night.
743 was a code that rang directly in the Atlanta switch. Now, in the daytime, we can find out what's on the other end. Turns out that it's a ring down. That is, it goes just to an operator. There's no dial PBX to send a number to. This operator probably has a manual PBX, or maybe it's an office even smaller than that where they just have key phones. So all the Atlanta switch does is pick up the trunk to the operator and not dial anything. You hear the local ringtone, and then once the operator answers in the distant location, that's when the carrier noise comes on.
Good morning, ConTelNet Force Industries.
Yes, ma'am, I'm testing. What city is this here?
West Virginia.
What city in West Virginia?
Croton.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Next call, 480. I use it to get a CCSA dial tone, but in the daytime, that doesn't always work out.
Good morning, Mike Camp.
Hello, I'm testing operator. What city did I just reach?
This is Northbrook, Illinois.
Thank you.
Is there anything else I can help you with?
No, release, please.
Thank you.
This call was to 480, and the normal routing is Atlanta to Chicago to the PBX. And this time, it went from Atlanta to Chicago, and then Chicago dialed out on a line, dialed the main number of that PBX on the line. So no matter what last four digits I would have dialed, I would have gotten the main number. And during the day, we get a lot of alternate routings like that. I dialed 480-1811, which, if we'd gotten the first choice routing, would have given me the CCSA dial tone. Let me try it again.
There it was going out on the Chicago line again. When it goes that way, you cannot dial directly to the extension. You have to go through the operator because they don't have direct inward dialing from the Bell system network. They only have it from the ConTelNet. But when those lines from the Chicago CCSA to that PBX run out, then it sends it through the Bell system and the operator has to do the connecting. The previous attempt got as far as Chicago, and then with this network, that may not indicate busy circuits. There's a lot of bad trunks. The next few calls are to the 442 PBX.
Continental. Hello?
You know, this happens a lot. With this network, you have to try things repeatedly to try to determine which outcome is the correct one, because there are so many network failures. So on the next two calls, I'm dialing 442-2281 in an attempt to get the CCSA dial tone via the 442 PBX. It seems I've already determined that only the last 2 digits are used. That's why the 8 is in the second to last position. Of the next 2 calls, the second one is the correct outcome. On the first one, we just get a 442 PBX dial tone because somehow ConTelNet didn't dial.
Midtown.
Well, I got a CCSA dial tone, but that PBX is an old-fashioned Bell System crossbar PBX with dial telephones. And so these trunks don't accept touch tone. I got my CCSA dial tone, but I can't use it. The 442 trunks have this really stormy-sounding carrier noise. We heard it clearly on an earlier call. The next call is to 443.
Continental Forest Industries. Hello?
Hello?
Yes.
What city is this?
Columbus, Ohio.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm recording at night now. What I'm about to do is to get a Chicago CCSA dial tone through the 454 Centrex by dialing 454-1811, and then into that dial tone I'll dial 212-958-1111. That will go to the Connecticut tandem, which will then pick up a direct line in New York. You can dial 212 plus just about anything, and Connecticut will dial it on the New York line. In fact, the only thing I found that you can't do it with is 212 plus 212. And I'll demonstrate some of these other things, but first, let's see if we can dial 958 into one of those lines.
Sometimes the network failures, not my fault, are as interesting as calls going through. When ConTelNet's Connecticut switch calls New York, it uses a tie trunk, and that tie trunk has a telephone number. I'm trying to call 212 plus 958, and that's so the ConTelNet switch will use that tie trunk, dial 958 on it, and we can find out its telephone number. The last time we tried dialing 958 on a New York line, we just got a high tone. But this is a different line. This one might work.
Nine, 2, 5, 3, 3, 1, 1.
Ah, cool. I loved that disconnect. I'm going to play that again.
Okay, let's see what happens when we call that number in New York. This time, instead of calling it on a CCSA dial tone, I'm going to dial it on the 9 line of a New York Dimension PBX. And I reach that 9 line by dialing 551-9111.
The number dialed is invalid. Please check the number and redial your call.
This call is to the number 925-3311 in New York City, and it answers with a Connecticut CCSA dial tone. Does not accept a long-distance number, but it probably will accept an intra-network call. That was our newly found New York CCSA access number hanging up on us. And the line we called it on is crossbar 5, so that's going to time out in 20 seconds from the hang-up. And at that point, a disconnect will occur that'll end up with our Atlanta access number hanging up on us. Except this time, the Atlanta access number just stayed off hook for some reason. In any event, the next call goes through that New York access number. I will find that it does work for ConTelNet 7-digit numbers, and I'll make a call to the homemade loop around in my apartment. Eventually, I'll pick up on that line and talk to you. This is a stack through 4 dial tones, if you count Atlanta. Sorry about the feedback. There will be some better stacks down the road.
Well, for some reason we didn't time out that time. Let me try a different way. I'm going to dial my Atlanta access number and then dial 727-8212. That'll go to the Connecticut switch, which will pick up the Baltimore Centrex and dial 8212. When I'm cut through, I will have dialed 212 into the Connecticut CCSA dial tone. Then I will dial 925-3311. The Connecticut switch will then pick up a New York line and call 925-3311. When I get the dial tone from the New York access, I'll dial 454-1811. We'll end up in that Chicago ESS Centrex 454, and the 1811 will cause us to get a Chicago CCSA dial tone by way of that Centrex. And on that dial tone, I'll dial my other line. Oh well, that time the transmission loss happened too rapidly. Let me try it another way. I'm amazed that I actually got it to work the first time, but we'll try it yet another way. I'll dial my Atlanta access, then dial 454-1811. That'll go through to the Chicago Tandem, then to that Chicago ESS Centrex, and then I'll get a CCSA dial tone again from the Chicago Tandem. On that dial tone, I'll dial 212-925-3311. That'll go through to the Connecticut Tandem, which will pick up a New York line, dial 925-3311. When that call goes through and the New York line has answered, on that dial tone I will dial 454-1811, which will go through to the Chicago ESS Centrex, and then give us a CCSA dial tone from the Chicago Tandem, and on that I'll dial my number. Well, again, it couldn't hear me. Let me try it once more the original way. That is dialing the New York access number on the 9 line of that New York Dimension 551. Well, I guess there isn't much hope for doing that. But at least we do know that we have a New York access number now, and through that, it seems like we can reach everything we can reach through the Atlanta number.
The New York access number goes to the Connecticut switch, which has an old-fashioned MCI-type dial tone. That's not surprising. The Connecticut switch seems to be a regular Dan-Ray switch. The Atlanta one seems like it's some sort of a remote unit because it doesn't even have its own announcements. Every time the announcement comes on with the Atlanta switch, the carrier noise comes on with it, and then it goes back to the reorder tone locally. And the oil company CCSA, by the way, was the same. It may be that these two CCSAs are being administered by the same phone company, and yet each one has its own separate set of announcements, and probably separate interswitch trunks as well. In the next program, there will be more successful stacks, and we'll start out in the daytime again when
Circuits are busy.
yes, and also
Circuits are busy.
yeah, that's true, and
Circuits are busy.
right.
Circuits are busy.
You know, each one of those machines that had the rotating drum with the film strip loops could only do one announcement at a time. Each announcer unit was complete in itself, and that's why it sounds different every time. You're literally getting a different machine every time. Anyway, that and more in the next segment.